Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to today's bonus. Before we jump into this bonus, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. These audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share this video. Why? Well, because these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's bonus, shall we? Bladenboro is a small community surrounded by pine forests and swamps at the southeastern edge of the North Carolina Piedmont. It was also the setting for the greatest monster flap North Carolina has ever seen. The story begins in Bladen County in a town called Clarkton. On December 29, 1953, a local woman heard her neighbor's dogs barking and whimpering. When she went out to investigate, she saw a large cat-like creature sulk off into the darkness. That was the first sighting of the beast of Bladenboro. 2 days later, the creature would strike. On New Year's Eve, Bladenboro Police Chief Roy Fjors was called out to a farm of Woody Storm. 2 of Storm's dogs had been killed by something large and powerful. The poor dogs' bodies had been completely drained of blood. More reports started coming in. D.G. Pate said he watched from his service station as a dog was attacked by a large creature and dragged into the woods. Chief Fjors was inundated with reports of dogs being attacked from across the county. People said they saw an animal, like a bear or a panther, that was 3 feet long, 20 inches high, with a long tail and a cat's face. Others reported hearing the creature scream coming from the swamps near the town, saying it sounded like a woman with a knife stuck in her back. On January 1st, the bodies of 2 more dogs were discovered. These also had been drained of blood. Chief Fjors decided it was time to call out for help. A team of professional hunters were brought in from Wilmington to track down this animal. Chief Fjors accompanied the tracking party and said he saw footprints the size of silver dollars. Then, on January 5th, the beast of Bladenboro attacked a human. That evening, Mrs. C.E. Kinslaw heard a sound of whimpering dogs outside of her house. She went outside to investigate. She saw a large, cat-like creature rush towards her. Mrs. Kinslaw screamed and her husband rushed outside. The beast was frightened off and fled back into the woods. The newspapers quickly picked up the story, and soon Bladenboro was overwhelmed with a flurry of hunters coming in, eager to bag the beast. Over 600 men from as far away as Tennessee descended on the town. A full-armed pack of fraternity brothers from UNC Chapel Hill made its way down to the town to see about putting the beast's head on their wall. But nobody knew exactly what they were hunting. Speculation began running rampant. Some thought it was a Carolina panther, a species of large cat that lived in the area until early 20th century, but is now thought to be extinct. Others said they were dealing with a coyote or a stray dog. Most of those who had descended on Bladen County thought the only way to find out for sure what the beast was
by killing it. The town was terrified. Ev Butler, who was a young man in Bladenboro at the time, recalled nighttime was the feared time around these parts. As the sun set, the entire community on the west side of the town went indoors and didn't come out unless it was necessary. The fear of the beast had a very real effect on Mr. Butler and his family. We didn't live in the town limits at that time, and almost everyone had an outdoor privy. To supplement the outside convenience, most houses had a thunder jug, a big jug that could be used at night and emptied into the privy during the day. That jug got a lot of use during the scare. Deciding that things were getting too dangerous, Bladenboro Mayor Bob Fussell and Chief Flores called to the end of the hunt. On January 13th, taking an unusually large bobcat that had been trapped by a local farmer. The two men hung it on a flagpole in the center of town. They posted a sign underneath slating, "This is the beast of Bladenboro." After a week or so, things settled back to normal. The hunters left town, and reports of killing stopped coming in. Whatever the beast of Bladenboro was, it had vanished back into the night and the swamps from where it first emerged. The monster of Caswell County, North Carolina. In 1873, a giant, strange-looking horned animal which howled ferociously was spotted in the mountains of Caswell County, North Carolina. A gentleman recently from Shelton Laurel District of North Carolina, some 40 miles from this place, informs us that the people in that densely thicketed county are greatly excited in regard to the appearance upon several different places of a huge mountain monster, the species of which is unknown. Mr. George Anderson, one of the gentlemen residing in Laurel, being one of the persons who saw this monster, also furnishes us with the following description of it. "I was out in the woods hunting up some lost hog, when all of a sudden there came into my path a beast, the appearance of which, I must confess, caused me to quake for the first time in many years. Aside from this strange and unusual appearance, the unearthly yell it uttered on perceiving me, which reverberated through the forest, was enough to shake the senses of the most daring adventurer. The animal was some 100 yards distant from me and appeared to be a huge black bear, with a mane and a head like a lion, but had horns like an elk on it. Its tail was long and bushy, with dark and light rings around its extremities. Its eyes gleamed like a panther, and its size was that of an ordinary ox, but somewhat longer. Just previous to making its appearance, I had shot my gun off at a squirrel and felt a little prepared to meet such a ferocious beast without any weapon of defense. I immediately set about reloading my rifle, but had scarcely begun when it darted toward me. I retreated in as good order as possible, and must say I did some good running, not looking back until I found the animal had disappeared in the laurel thicket. This is no story, Mr. Editor, gotten up to scare naughty children. I am not the only one that has seen this monster. Several have seen it since I did, and as sheep and calves are lately missing, it is presumed to be a carnivorous brute. Many have fortified their homes to prevent a night attack from this strange monster, the like of which has never been seen in these mountains before. Some think it had escaped from some rambling menagerie, while others superstitiously think it was sent to warn people about an approaching danger. The Great Dismal Swamp, Wolfman. Sprawled out over a large area of southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina is a tangled mass of wilderness with the rather ominous name of the Great Dismal Swamp. This vast expanse of wetlands encompasses the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge and the Dismal State Park, covering tens of thousands of acres, and besides its rich biodiversity, the swamp has a long history being home to native tribes and also the location of remote settlements for escaped renegade slaves during the American slavery years. The Great Dismal Swamp is also a place of great mystery and the supposed haunt of a very strange and ferocious creature indeed. Within its maze of islands, waterways, and its dim, murky, and in some places nearly impenetrable wilderness, the Great Dismal Swamp is in many ways every bit as spooky as the name would suggest, full of snakes, gators prowl in the murky waters. It is a dangerous place, often avoided by settlers, and a perfect place for escaped slaves to hide out, hidden away from civilization. It is easy to peer into the gloomy, mosquito-infested wilderness of this place and imagine that something strange could be hiding here, and indeed, there have been tales of weirdness orbiting the swamp for years. Besides numerous tales of ghost lights, shadowy apparitions, and other supernatural denizens, there has also been reports of large, hairy, bipedal beast of some sort lurking here, which has mostly been described as a wolf man. There were long reports of a giant 8-foot-tall, hairy-covered beast that smelled like rotten flesh prowling through the swamp, but reports seem to have taken off in 1902 when a rather strange report appeared in the March 20th, 1901 edition of the Richmond Dispatch. The strange Dismal Swamp monster, which one day this week killed 7 of Ed Smith's dogs, ate 2 of them, and later attacked Mr. Smith himself, has been seen again. Mr. Smith lives about 12 miles from Suffolk. Last night, L. Frank Ames, a merchant who lives near Bennett's Creek, saw the same thing and suffered from its ravages. Hearing a strange noise, Mr. Ames went out with his pistol. He thought at first it was a strange dog. When he learned it was the much-sought monster, Mr. Ames shot several times, but without effect. The thing growled savagely, being sent after it. 6 dogs refused to have conflict and fled in terror. They couldn't be induced to make an attack. The unknown animal escaped without being harmed. Afterward, it appeared at the home of Henry Jordan, colored, and sat defiantly on his covered well. The description is like the one furnished by Mr. Smith, a large, gaunt form, long yellow hair, and vicious eyes. The creature was spotted all over the area after this, usually described as bipedal with shaggy, matted hair covering its body and having eyes that glowed brightly. It was often described as having decidedly canine features and was apparently notorious for killing dogs and livestock, often leaving them in a mangled, savaged state. There were apparently hunters who would go out trying to kill the beast and were supposedly successful on at least one occasion. But there seems to have been more than one of these things, according to one article in the era of March 21st, 1902 edition of Little Falls Herald. Another monster has come forth from the Dismal Swamp jungles and is spreading alarm among farmers around Driver, 12 miles from Suffolk, Virginia. Last week, an unclassified animal not indigenous to the high lands terrorized residents of Pleasant Hill, so that they were afraid to leave their home at night. After being chased by numerous armed posses, this beast was killed by Harrison Walker, a colored hunter. Now, Edward Smith, a farmer of Driver, says that a strange being visited his premises and killed 7 dogs, 2 of which were eaten, while the other 5 were just mutilated. Another dog took refuge under the barn, and Smith, hearing the dog's yells, went out with a pistol. The monster sprang upon him. Smith fell, and the beast tore his clothes to shreds. He finally beat it off, but the revolver, being corroded, would not fire. Whit Walker, of the same neighborhood, says the animal visited his home as well. From Smith's description, the animal is larger than a wolf with shaggy yellow hair, long head, and sunken eyes. It is gaunt and vicious. People are wondering what will come next from this unexplored swamp, made famous by Tom Moore's verses. The more superstitious regards the visitation of supernatural, and families are having much trouble with their servants. The creature, or something like it, has been sighted in the area sporadically, right up onto modern times, often with the detail that stands on hind legs and has the face like a man, but with a canine snout, which has led to speculation that the great Dismal Swamp monster could be an actual werewolf. Other ideas are that it could be something like a swamp-dwelling Bigfoot, some sort of out-of-the-place wolf or bear, or even a type of cryptid known as the Dogman. But it is hard to say, as reports are few and far between, and mostly known from a handful of old newspaper articles. Whatever this creature is or was, it makes for very spooky stories.
That was part 1 of today's bonus. Now let's jump into part 2.
Today's first encounter brings us to the woodlands of Australia. I wanted to share my experience that still freaks me out just thinking about it. Just down the road from where, a few years ago, I had previously lived in Southeast Australia is an opening into 100 acres of woodlands and bush. I used to frequent when I was younger, doing the usual things, riding around and camping, etc. I was out driving around 11:30 at night with my girlfriend, and as we were in the area, I decided to show her the woodlands. She loves everything to do with nature, and it was summer and an extremely warm night. I left my car with the light shining into the trees as we weren't going too far in, and it was pitch black. The 2 of us were just sitting around, chatting, having a smoke, and just relaxing. She was sitting on a sort of map of the area that had been put in some plastic, and I was keeping an eye on the trees as I had a feeling that something was wrong. Now, I've heard a few people say they felt they were in danger, although nothing around them was off, and this was that same feeling. Every sense was almost reaching out, and my adrenaline was up, but there was really nothing in my eye line that seemed different. After lighting another smoke to calm my nerves, I scanned the tree line again and realized it looked different than before. It was only after staring into the dark that I saw there was moonlight now lighting up grass where it couldn't have before, as there was a black shape blocking it that before I thought was a tree. I got goosebumps just typing this, but the only way to describe it was that all sound just ceased and everything went dead silent, and a few seconds later, this disgusting feeling of dread fell over me. I saw motion in the darkness of the path as this thing crawled towards us on all fours. I've seen nearly every animal in the Outback, and we don't have large predators like in the US or Europe, but somehow I knew this thing was a predator, and it wasn't hiding itself from us, but just slowly crawling forward towards us. I don't know if my girlfriend saw it at the time or not, as I couldn't look away, but just as it reached the line of my car lights were able to illuminate, it reared up onto 2 legs and just sat staring at us. I'm 6'4", and this thing was about another meter larger than I am, with arms that were far too long that reached down near to the ground, and all I could make out was an off-white, almost yellowish fur on it, and in the dim light could make out a silhouette of its head, like a dog or a wolf. I wasn't able to move as it stared at me, but it was at this point that my girlfriend gasped, and it seemed to break whatever was stopping me from thinking logically. I grabbed her by the arm and sprinted back to the car, slammed the doors, and tore out of there as fast as I could. Both of us were too scared to speak until about a half an hour later. We both discussed it many times, and the feeling that we had was what I imagine a rabbit sees when it catches a wolf or a fox staring at it. That this is something that would be able to end us with absolute ease if it chose to. Neither of us have been able to come up with an explanation for what it was, but it has definitely changed the way I view the woods and bush, and when I go camping or hiking now. I think back to that, and I wonder if I'll ever see anything like it again. Our second encounter is what I believe to be a skinwalker. I'll be honest, I almost never believe anyone's story that sees a mythical creature or a monster, and I wouldn't believe this story if I told it to myself from another perspective. However, the only reason I think I actually did see something was because my friend saw the same thing, and verified my eyes weren't just playing tricks on me. We were driving home from a friend's. She was the driver, I was the passenger, around 1:30 in the morning, going around 35 miles an hour. I see a figure standing completely still on the side of the road, just looking across the road, not moving. It was relatively thin and tall, maybe 6.5 feet tall. Pale skin, hunched over slightly. Dark black pits for eyes, no mouth, or if there was, it was small and not noticeable. Stringy long hair like Gollum, wearing clothes like a tattered coat or a hoodie or something. Here's a really strange feature. Its legs were jointed backwards like a cricket, but it was standing straight up. Imagine your own leg slightly bent, but the bend was reversed. This really freaked me out because I saw it and immediately turned to my friend, the driver, and she had a look of pure shock and fear also, and at that moment we both realized we saw the same thing. We were so scared we sped up and didn't look back. Now I wish we looked back to see what it was. Today's third encounter. Last year I was camping in the woods when I came into contact with a creature. Though I never actually saw it, I'll start with the description I wrote back then, and I'll explain why it wasn't likely an animal, and then what's been bothering me. Looking back, I already heard the thing making sounds. I can't really describe them too accurately. All day, all around me, sort of like a dulled cowbell, not actually ringing. Maybe it was closer to water drops. I think it was a mouth sound. I brought it up to somebody who was also there, but he said it was nothing. Then that night in my tent, a friend had just left, I heard the sound more and better. The sound definitely bothered me now. I was curious, at least. It seemed closer now, still moving around, within 50 meters for sure. I heard movement in the bushes, then in the grass. Then, seemingly, just walked straight up to the tent, inspecting it for a moment, and then coming very close, touching it. I heard some weird breathing, swallowing, mouth sounds, I'm not really sure. It gently pushed against the tent a few times. Then it started circling the tent, brushing against the long sides. It was brushing about a third to halfway of the tent's height. It didn't seem that tall, like a big but more slender dog, I guessed. It kept on circling, seemingly forever. No more sounds except sniffing and breathing. I made noise, turned on a light. I couldn't scare it away. It backed off a little bit and then came right back. I decided to leave the tent instead of sitting and waiting, knife and flashlight in hands, and try to see the animal or person, which by then had also crossed my mind. Shitting bricks, yeah. It didn't want to face me, so it hid. I waited a while, quietly looking around. It stayed away, so I closed up the tent. It was still there in the bushes, looking at me. I couldn't see it, and I definitely wasn't about ready to approach. The tent was completely fine. And it was definitely not smelling something tasty, but being cautious because of the person in the tent. If it was looking for food there, it must have been me. But it actually didn't want to attack me, at least not when I left the tent. I'm certain it stalked me all day. Then, once I was alone, it approached and circled curiously. When I left the tent, it backed off, but was still curious. I'm certain it kept watching me from a distance, hiding. Possibly related, a day before, I thought I heard someone yelling or talking loudly. It wasn't my friend. Could have been hikers, but I never saw anyone. It made me weary, so I walked away from it and back to my friend, who was once again far away when it happened. I've looked thoroughly at any animal it could have been and asked others for ideas, and there are no matches at all. Behavior doesn't fit, noises, size, footsteps. There aren't a lot of animals that might fit in this country anyways. I have no matches, none. Ever since then, I have this nagging urge to see it again. I'm aware of the risk, but I feel the need to go back to where I met it and try to meet it again. I can't right now, but I can see myself choosing to do that eventually, no matter how nervous the idea makes me. Today's fourth encounter. I live in the rural part of Maryland where there's nothing but farms and woods around my neighborhood. I was home alone, about 12 or 13 years old, riding my scooter outside, around my driveway. Across the street from my house is a cornfield with a tree line behind it, about 200 yards long and 40 yards wide, leading up from another cornfield behind that. My family was friends with the farmer that owned the property, and he had 2 kids around my same age of my sister and myself that we played with. Anyway, I was home alone, like I said, riding my scooter up and down our driveway when something urged me to look up into the tree line. I stopped, and I heard a lot of branches breaking and saw a humanoid-looking thing completely white from head to toe. It was sprinting through the woods, dodging the trees and ducking its head and body around. It ran really fast, and then it paused in the clearing and stood up and looked at me for a second. My heart dropped and continued sprinting into the woods while I sprinted up my driveway and locked myself into the house with my BB gun and dog. I was shaking in my room and waiting for my mom to get home to tell her what happened. It was too far away to see what its face looked like or make out any details at all. All I could tell you was it was very tall, fast, and was solid white in color, head to toe. My mom didn't know what to think of it, and my dad was kind of shocked to hear, but thought it was a crackhead because we had a dealer in our neighborhood at the time. I told him it didn't look like a human at all, and it really didn't run like one either. To this day, I can remember it like it was yesterday, and always carry something to defend myself with when I'm outside after dark. Today's fifth encounter is a very interesting subscriber encounter. They reached out to me and said, I have an encounter. It's not a Dogman, but I'd like to share it with you. I said, send it over. This is what he sent. I listen to your channel pretty much every day at work or while driving. Here's something that happened with my dad, my brother, in Mexico between 1993 and 94. We used to live in my grandfather's land, and my dad decided it was time to move because our family was growing and more privacy. My dad wanted to build his own shop and start a business fabricating. A little bit of history. We moved there about 30 minutes far from my grandfather's house and my school. So the house that my dad built was like the third one in the total neighborhood. We had 3 neighbors, but far away, like a mile away. One day, I don't remember exactly what day, but my brother was in the house with my dad. My dad building his shop, my brother watching TV. Now, we just had one big room that my mom divided with a curtain you can see through, making it into a second room for me and my brother. 2 doors, one takes you to the front and the other to the backyard with no fence around the house. So my brother's watching TV, and then he decides to check on my dad and went back outside. My brother says he saw me, that's what he thought, was looking through the curtain, and he called my name. Francisco, you came back from school? And he was getting no response from what he thought was me. So he keeps calling my name, and he said this thing was wearing my clothes and digging in the drawer, making a mess. My brother said he opened the curtain, and just 5 feet away, this thing turned and looked at him, then turns back and keeps digging into my clothes. He said it had skin like a reptile and yellow eyes with pupils like snakes. About my height, 4.5 feet tall, then. He got scared and got out of the house and told my dad something was in the house. Of course, my dad didn't believe him. My dad said, go back in the house, it's just your imagination. My brother went back inside and he said that the thing was still there and ran again to get my dad. My dad got mad at him and wanted to check inside the house, and he saw this reptile thing wearing my red shirt and shorts. And my dad got into the car to get his gun, but when he came back, the creature was not there. This happened in the small town of Navaloy, Leon, Mexico. No one saw that thing again till 2010, when my dad was driving on a dark road. He saw the creature crossing the road with similar features but pale in color. He didn't see its eyes, but he said it was about 4 feet tall, skinny, no clothes, no human features. My dad said he didn't see any sexual organs. He stopped the truck and saw the thing stop before crossing the fence into an orange field. My dad said the thing was trying to camouflage itself in the bushes. He said he was thinking about getting out of the truck to get a better look at it, even though he was only 6 feet away. Just then my dad thinks, what if the mom or dad of this thing is on the other side of that fence? And I don't have my pistol with me. Then my dad decided to leave and keep on his way to where he was going. My brother calls this thing the Lizard Kid. I'm not sure if the second encounter was the same kind of creature. I forgot to mention my dad also said the last one had claws and some kind of spikes coming out of its spine. My cousin saw a similar thing a couple months after my dad's sighting, but he said this one was jumping. I'm going to get in touch with my cousin and ask him some more questions about it. I'm sorry about my grammar. I'm still trying to learn English. I have a bunch of weird stories. The old town is a magnet for the weird. One of my friends in 2004 woke up and went outside to go to the bathroom in Mexico. I don't know why, but they make their bathrooms outside. Anyway, my friend saw George, his words. It was like a big roach standing, eating a cat. He made the report to the police, and some people in white suits showed up and took what was left of the cat. Some people made fun of him, but the neighbors, close to his house, and family saw the commotion of the police and the people in white and believed him. He, to this day, is still too afraid to go outside at dark.
And there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed today's bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you for supporting the channel. It is your support, after all, that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth. And God bless you all.